Welcome, my name is Barney Reese. I'm the author of How Blessed You Are in God's Promises. And I am reading this book to you. For those who want to hear it, great. For those who don't, that's fine too. We're on chapter 37 on miracles. Ask anything in my name, and my Father in heaven hears you and answers you. Yes, your dreams and the desires of your hearts will be and do come true. Just ask, believe, and receive, for without faith, works. Because without works, faith is dead. Exodus 14:21. When Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. Exodus 14:22. So the children of Israel went into the middle of the sea, dry ground, and the waters were walled to them on their right and on their left. Exodus 14:23. And the Egyptians pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea, all the Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. Exodus 14:24. And it came to pass in the morning watch that the Lord looked down upon the army of the Egyptians through the pillar of the fire and cloud, and troubled the army of the Egyptians. Exodus 14:25. And he took all their chariot wheels, so they drove with difficulty. And the Egypt said, Let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fights for them against the Egyptians. Exodus 14:26. And the Lord said to Moses, Stretch out your hand over the sea, that the water may come back upon the Egyptians, on their chariots and on their horsemen. Exodus 14:27. And Moses stretched out his hands over the sea, and when the mornings appeared, the sea returned to its full depth, while the Egyptians were fleeing into it. So the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. Exodus 14:28. Then the waters returned and covered the chariots, the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh came into the sea after them. Not so much as one of them remained. Exodus 14:29. But the children of Israel had walked on dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on the right hand and on their left. Exodus 14:30. So the Lord saved Israel that day out of the land of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. 1 Chronicles 4:10. And Jezebel called on God of Israel, saying, Oh, that you would bless me indeed, enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that it may not cause pain. So God granted him what he request. Psalms 105:16. Moreover, he called for a famine in the land, be destroyed all the prophets of bread. Psalms 105:17. He sent a man before them, Joseph, and he was sold as a slave. Psalms 105:18. They hurt his feet with feathers, he was laid in iron. Psalms 105:19. Until that time that his word came to pass, the word of the Lord tested him. Psalms 105:20. The king sent and released him. The ruler of the people let him go free. Psalms 105:21. He made him lord of his house and ruler of his possessions. Psalms 105:22. To bind his princesses at his pleasure and reach his elders' wisdom. Psalms 105:23. Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. Psalms 105:24. And he increased his people greatly and made them stronger than their enemies. Psalms 105:25. He turned their heart to hate, his people to deal craftily with his servant. Psalm 105:26. He sent Moses his servant, and Aaron whom he had chosen. Psalms 105:27. They performed his signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham. Psalms 105:28. He sent darkness and made it dark, and they did not rebel against his word. Psalms 105:29. He turned their water into blood and killed their fish. Psalms 105:30. Their land abounded with frogs, even in the chambers of their king. Psalm 105:31. He spoke, and there came a swarm of flies and lice in all their territory. Psalms 105:32. He gave them hail for rain and flaming fire in their land. Psalms 105:33. He struck their vines also in their fig trees and splintered the tree of their territory. Psalms 105:34. He spoke, and locusts came, young locusts without number. Psalms 105:35. And ate all of his vegetation in their land, and devoured the fruits of their ground. Psalms 105:36. He also destroyed all the firstborn in their land, the first of all their strength. Psalms 105:37. He also brought them out of their silver and gold, and was now feeble among his tribe. Psalms 105:38. Egypt was glad when they departed, for the fear of them had filled upon them. Psalms 105:39. He spent a cloud for a covering, and fire to give light in the night. He spread a cloud for a covering, and a fire to give light in the night. Psalms 105:40. The people asked, and he brought quail and satisfied them with the bread of heaven. Psalms 105:41. He opened the rock and water gushed out. It ran in the dry places like a river. Psalms 105:42. For he remembered his holy promise to Abraham, his servant. Psalms 105:43. He brought out his people with joy. He chose the chosen ones with gladness. Psalms 105:44. He gave them the lands of Gentiles, and they inherited the labor of the nations. Psalms 105:45. That they may observe his statute and keep his laws. Praise the Lord. Matthew 7:7, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and it will be opened. Matthew 7:8, for everyone who asks receives, and who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Matthew 7:9, or what man is there among you that his son asks for bread will give him a stone? Matthew 7:10, or if he asks for a fish he will give him a serpent. Matthew 7:11, if you then evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give gifts to those who ask him? Matthew 19:26, but Jesus looked at them and said to him, with man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. Mark 11:23, for surely I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, he does not doubt in his heart, but believes that those things he says come to pass, he will be however for whatever he says. Mark 11:34, therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you will have them. John 11:38, then Jesus again, groaning in himself, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone laid against it. John 11:39, Jesus said, take the stone. Martha, the sister of him who was dead, said to him, Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he has been dead for 4 days. John 11:40. Jesus said to her, did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God? John 11:41. Then they took away from the stone, from the place where the dead man was lying, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. John 11:42. And I know that you always hear me, but because of the people who you're standing by, I said this, that they may believe that you sent me. John 11:43. Now when he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he who had died came out bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, loose him and let him go. Your miracles. I am so glad I knew that I am an heir to the creator of the universe, that I gave Jesus Christ my heart and told him I will go wherever you tell me to go. I will do whatever you ask me to do if you will just spare my life. Maybe this is why I'm writing this book for you. My first wife was from the Philippines and was younger than me. We were going through a bitter divorce. I went through a lot of things. I felt like would have fallen apart. My mate was gone and I was alone. My son was just a possession to me and I was alone, losing weight. I had trouble sleeping, and I had someone fixing to take everything I had worked for. I had moved to my mobile home in the country by my father-in-law and bought the property he was renting. My son was still in diapers, and I had also bought new Windstar Band X for help to pay for it. The more I had, I also bought $500 a month. I have learned she was doing drugs. She was sleeping with a young 18-year-old. They would let my son sleep on the floor while they had sexual relations. I was hurt beyond words, and my anger too. I went to the court, and now I was paying child support, $200 alimony, $150. Child support, $150 alimony. I was paying for the van I had bought. I was tired all the time, and I truly had to have something to wake me up. It was my son. I also got my son on Thursday through Sunday, and she got him Monday through Thursday. I watched the family I had married into turn on me completely. I still had my job, and I continued to work. I still remember like it was yesterday. Her father and the man outside was talking, and I'd got pneumonia. I was a minimum of 15 minutes to the nearest hospital. I told her father and gentleman that I was not feeling very well and I needed some help. They acted like they did not hear me. I called my mother and told her, Mom, I do not know what is happening to me, but I cannot drive. I cannot keep my eyes open at present. You need to come to get me. She said she'd be there unless she ran out of gas. I told my mom I have plenty of money, just need some help getting me to the doctor, unable to drive. My mother came and took me to the doctor. I waited over 3 hours to be seen, in and out of consciousness from the fever. The doctor told me you have pneumonia. Well, I went to my mother's home, and she took care of me till I was better. I was weak. I could barely walk, and I could not even open my own pill bottle. After that accident, I went back to work, and I would just get away from the house and go see my mother before I went to work. I worked nights, Monday through Friday, which was 2 p.m. to 10:30 until Sunday. Until sometimes on Sunday, I was at T-45 Aircraft Servicer at the time, which consisted of lunching And we're covering T45s, which is as well. Okay, we'll stop there because I'm going to have to continue anyway.